Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Chapter 30. Video. The sun was shining as the three of them left the library and walked along the street. Xiang Cheng held Zhi Ziaduo's hand in one hand and stuck his other hand in the pocket of his shorts. He had soaked up so much sun that it was starting to feel unbearable. When entering the Sanlitun Starbucks, Zhi Ziaduo felt his whole body come to life again. There weren't many people in the Starbucks, having all been drawn away by the Mon coffee across the street. Zhou Wanyuan plopped down, took out the papers from her handbag and said, "Take a look, ba." Saying that, she took off her sunglasses and looked at Zhi Ziaduo enigmatically. "Should we drink some coffee?" Zhi Ziaduo asked. "I'll buy you a drink." "Xiang Cheng, what do you want to drink?" "Don't waste money," Xiang Cheng replied. "Zhi Ziaduo, you're very handsome." Zhou Wanyuan said, "But why do you look scared? Am I that terrifying?" "Thank you." Zhi Ziaduo said, trembling with fear, "You're also very pretty." "You're not terrifying." "That's just how I am. I don't have much courage." He thought, if I say it like that, will that offend her? Zhou Wanyuan replied, "A latte." Xiang Cheng read the papers without looking up. Zhou Wanyuan said, "Chen Zhen told me to go find you. He said you'd have a way." Xiang Cheng finished reading the papers and put them on the table. He took over Zhi Ziaduo's coffee, and remained silent. Zhi Ziaduo asked, "Can I read it?" Zhou Wanyuan and Xiang Cheng made a gesture at the same time. "Take a look, ba." Zhi Ziaduo flipped through the papers. At the top were the personal details of 4 students, all stamped in red with the word dead. 2 of them were college students, and the other 2 were high school seniors. One cause of death was suicide. The reason for the suicide was listed as for love, and the other 3 were accidents. There were 4 homicides in a quarter, Zhou Wanyuan said. They were all students and fairly young. Xiang Cheng didn't speak, merely looking at Zhou Wanyuan. Zhou Wanyuan took out a cell phone from her purse and put it on the table. Xiang Cheng picked up his cell phone and carelessly scrolled through it. Inside were the selfies that girls often took on their phones. Xiang Cheng flicked through them one by one, looking through them very slowly. Zhi Ziaduo looked from beside him, and started to get a little scared. "Was this the deceased's?" asked Zhi Ziaduo. N. Zhou Wanyuan didn't say anything else, waiting for Xiang Cheng to speak, but Xiang Cheng kept up his habit of disdaining strangers and didn't even bother to talk to her. He flipped to the last 3 entries, a video and 2 very dark photos. There was a girl's voice in the video. "Take a picture, take a picture," the girl said fearfully. It was completely dark, with no light at all. "Did you see it?" a boy's voice asked. "Don't take pictures, don't take any more pictures," another girl cried out in fear. "Let's hurry up and go, I'm so scared." "Leave it alone." The video ended. The other 2 pictures were pitch black. Goosebumps broke out over Zhi Ziaduo's body as he listened to this. It was obviously noon and they were sitting under the sun, but there was a dark wind blowing behind him. The 4 deceased all knew each other. Zhou Wanyuan said, "Haidian District's Public Security Bureau gave the information, but they were unwilling to give me many details or their real names. Let's use ABCD instead, ba." Female A, an interior design major, male B, a civil engineering major, and both of them were college freshmen. The other 2, male C and female D, were high school students who had flunked a grade and had to redo a year. Female D had mild depression. They were all originally from the same school. The first person who talked in the video, wanting them to take a picture, was female A, and the one who said, "Don't take pictures," was female D. The boy who spoke was C, and B held the cell phone and didn't speak from beginning to end. This cell phone was provided to me by his mother. She suspected that the children saw something they shouldn't have seen. When was this? Xiang Cheng finally said something. The video was shot on April 1st, April Fool's Day, Zhou Wanyuan said. I asked professionals to enlarge and clean the photos. Look bot, there's only so many pixels on a cell phone camera. Zhou Wanyuan took out the big picture in her purse and showed them. It was all black, and Zhi Xiaoduo's scalp felt numb. He squeezed closer to Xiang Cheng, and Xiang Cheng drew a hand out to hug Zhi Xiaoduo. Zhi Xiaoduo was a little comforted, and they looked at the picture together. No flash. Xiang Cheng looked at the three enlarged photos one after another. No. Zhou Wanyuan said, I suspect there are other photos, but they have already been deleted. This boy's cell phone is very old, and the camera isn't very good. His family is poor, and his mother has already collapsed. I tried to visit their school several times, but everyone's reaction was about the same. Their grades were good, they were hardworking, and their family members hadn't noticed anything wrong either. Xiang Cheng frowned and glanced at Zhi Xiaoduo. Zhi Xiaoduo shook his head, his eyes going unfocused from staring at it for so long. He didn't feel anything, but was there a spirit in the picture? It shouldn't be possible to take a picture of a spirit, right? But after looking at it for a long time, there seemed to be a very, very, very faint, small bright spot in the picture. Xiang Cheng also noticed. He turned over the photo and motioned for Zhou Wanyuan to look at the bright spot. Zhou Wanyuan shook her head and said, I don't know what that is. Location, Xiang Cheng said again. At an inn at the back of Yandaxi Street. Zhou Wanyuan said, Chen Zhen said that you might be familiar with this place, so he told me to find you. I'm not familiar with it, Xiang Cheng said. Let's split up. You go investigate the deceased's 8 characters of birth. Zhou Wanyuan asked, what about you guys? Xiang Cheng didn't answer her again. Zhou Wanyuan took out a pile of money and began to count it out in front of the two of them. Zhi Xiaoduo. Xiang Cheng. This is the reward money, and I'm paying 40% of it in advance. Zhou Wanyuan said, after the investigation, we'll settle it again. She glanced at them as she said this and handed 4,000 yuan over to Zhi Xiaoduo. Xiang Cheng said, you insult me. Zhou Wanyuan. Zhi Xiaoduo didn't dare to take over the money. Xiang Cheng said, people die the way lamps go out, and yet you accepted the money from the deceased's family. Zhou Wanyuan's expression turned very ugly and she replied, it was given to me by the headmaster of the affiliated high school, to let me investigate this matter closely, so that there would be no follow-up investigation. That was my alma mater, and with the headmaster asking me, I couldn't not do it. What can you do now with the 10,000 yuan reward? After buying 2 cell phones, you wouldn't even have any change left over. If I didn't take that money, how could the headmaster be at ease? Xiang Cheng motioned to Zhi Xiaoduo to take the money. Zhou Wanyuan put on her sunglasses and said, you only need the 8 characters of their birth? What about their parents? I don't need their parents, Xiang Cheng replied. Wait for my message. How can I contact you? Hey! Zhou Wanyuan called out. Xiang Cheng got up, and Zhi Xiaoduo put away the money. The two of them strolled around in the mall opposite from Sanlitun for a while. Zhi Xiaoduo took this opportunity to go pick up the cell phone that had been repaired at the manufacturer's store. Do you have a clue? Asked Zhi Xiaoduo. Xiang Cheng shook his head. This sun is really strong, Xiang Cheng said. Zhi Xiaoduo bought Xiang Cheng a pair of sunglasses, while he himself wore a sports hat. They checked their route on the placard at the bus stop. Let's go to the school and take a look, Xiang Cheng said. Zhi Xiaoduo let out an N and followed him onto the bus. Xiang Cheng was wearing short sleeves, sunglasses, and capri pants. He was tall like a male model, which attracted the gaze of many students. They entered a famous university, and Zhi Xiaoduo said, this school was my first choice application. What is a first choice application? Xiang Cheng asked. It's the school you most want to get into, JIXIAN said, but I couldn't test into it. The trees planted around the roads of the campus were lush and green. Xiang Cheng entered the campus, took off his sunglasses, and checked with the security guard. The guard had obviously been notified and warned in advance and didn't say anything, simply allowing them to pass. JIXIAN used his cell phone to log onto the school's forum. The post had already been deleted, but the Baidu snapshot was still there. He learned that the girl who had committed suicide had fallen down from the academic building. See, take a look, JIXIAN said, there is a glass ceiling between the third and fourth floors of the academic building. She fell down from that ceiling. Xiang Cheng glanced at it. There were several photos there. The forum post said that the girl's things had fallen out of a window and landed on the glass ceiling. The girl had climbed onto it to pick it up, but the ceiling couldn't bear her weight. A glass pane collapsed, and she fell from a height of 10 meters and died on the spot. Let's go to this academic building, Xiang Cheng said. When they arrived outside the classroom, there were some students studying by themselves inside, but the whole row by the window was empty. Xiang Cheng went in through the back door, picked a desk with JIXIAN to sit down at, took out his notes from his bag, and spread them out. See anything? Xiang Cheng asked in a very low voice. JIXIAN covered his right eye with one hand, looked around with his left eye, and shook his head. There's nothing here, JIXIAN said. I'll take a look. Don't. It'll be fine, Xiang Cheng replied, I won't go out. The windows in front were equipped with a security mesh, but it had yet to be installed on several of the ones in the back. Xiang Cheng sat on the windowsill while ignoring the studying students in the classroom staring at him. He stretched out a foot, and tentatively stepped outside. JIXIAN immediately pulled Xiang Cheng's hand tightly. Will it collapse? Xiang Cheng asked. Yes. JIXIAN nodded. This wasn't built well. I mean it, don't mess around. Xiang Cheng turned around and came in. JIXIAN knew that he couldn't really fall down. He definitely had the ability to protect himself, but JIXIAN still didn't want them to reenact the case. Xiang Cheng sat down and began to study, while JIXIAN held his cell phone and wore headphones to watch a movie. Xiang Cheng was absent-minded, looking at JIXIAN for a bit before looking at his books again. They did this until dusk, and then had dinner in a canteen at the school that accepted money. The sun set, and on the summer evening, students were playing on the basketball court. Xiang Cheng and JIXIAN slowly walked out of the school. Ah! JIXIAN exclaimed in surprise. What? I see a lot of lights. JIXIAN said in surprise. Where? Xiang Cheng asked. Just on the horizon. JIXIAN murmured, under the dark clouds. JIXIAN covered his right eye and focused on it with his left eye. Splendid colored lights floated between the heavens and earth. The trees, the earth, the people, everyone here was covered by motes of light, a huge torrent flowing to the zenith of the sky. JIXIAN described the scene, and Xiang Cheng said, that's where the heavenly veins and earth veins intersect. To describe it in another way, it's the chi field of the world. When morning changes to dusk and vice versa, the heavenly veins and the earth veins will briefly connect. Dawn and dusk are both good moments to cultivate. The earth spun in a vast shadow, half bright and half dark. It was a magnificent scene. As the boundary between day and night gradually shifted east, the sky was like a roaring giant, wrapped in the energy of all things, rolling slowly, sucking all the spirit over where it passed up into the sky, and transporting it back to the earth at the other boundary between dawn and dusk, forming a vast and infinite circuit. Ah, strange. JIXIAN took out his small notebook, noted down heavenly veins and spirit, and replied, I didn't see this a few days ago. It's because you've started to consciously use the dragon pupil. What is the dragon pupil? JIXIAN turned to Xiang Cheng and saw that Xiang Cheng also emitted a faint light, which was absorbed upward like a ribbon. The Zhai Wen gave it to you. Xiang Cheng shook his head, not knowing if this was a good or bad thing. I think he knew that I wanted to follow you, JIXIAN said, so he gave me this. This way, I won't be so useless. Saying that, JIXIAN took out his notebook and updated the entry Dragon Pupil. Xiang Cheng. Why are you noting these things down? I would rather you be unable to do anything. Xiang Cheng said, if you want to follow me, then I'll just take you with me. With the dragon pupil on you, you can't get rid of it, and it might be part of you for your entire life. Trouble easily come along with it. JIXIAN said, you always say that, but you still don't want to take me with you. Then he laughed and remembered that Xiang Cheng had said before that in one of his lost memories, he wanted to go exorcise things with him. He thought, it's good I didn't tell you, otherwise you definitely wouldn't have let me sign up. Xiang Cheng patted JIXIAN on the shoulder and took him by putting his arm over his shoulders. He said, it's my fault. Outside the school gate, there was a black SUV. The horn sounded twice, and a buff man wearing sunglasses stuck his elbow out of the window of the driver's seat. He leaned out slightly and whistled at them. The buff man took off his sunglasses. JIXIAN smiled and said, Kita. Get in. Gagantorura Kita patted the door and said, Chen Zhen sent me to help you guys. Xiang Cheng stood there for a moment, then nodded, pulled open the door, and got in the car. The second school. Xiang Cheng gave the name, and Kita put the cell phone squarely on the car phone holder and turned on the GPS. Xiang Cheng looked back at JIXIAN in the back seat, his eyes deep, as if he had something to say. JIXIAN suddenly came to a tacit understanding. He knew what Xiang Cheng meant, don't mention the dragon pupil. JIXIAN nodded, indicating for him to not worry. How did Miss Zhou explain things? Kita asked, have you guys eaten yet? It's my treat. First, let's visit the schools, Xiang Cheng said. We ate already. We'll wait for you, no worries. Keaton nodded, got out of the car to buy a packaged sandwich, and ate while driving. He said, she can't handle cases and also doesn't want to have an assistant. It's really enough to kill you with anxiety. Xiang Cheng didn't answer. He sat in the front passenger seat and thought. A moment later, he looked at JIXIAN in the rear mirror and said, what do you think she went on the ceiling to pick up? The car was stuck in traffic and Kita held the sandwich without interrupting Xiang Cheng. What could fall onto the ceiling? JIXIAN asked. The windowsill is above shoulder height. Yes, Xiang Cheng replied, I can't figure it out. JIXIAN said, even if you were twirling a pen, it couldn't twirl all the way there. Kita put all his attention on the road, and the car started moving. The other school was also in the Hadian district. When they arrived, the middle school was holding a self-study session inside. Kita gave the door guard his work ID and asked him to open the gate. JIXIAN glanced at it curiously. His title listed there was, Field Director of the National Science and Technology Information Service Department. The three of them went up to the roof of the school, and the headmaster personally opened the door for them with the key. In the breeze of the summer night, three people stood on the roof. Xiang Cheng stood on the edge of the roof and looked down below his feet. Why is there no wire fence? Kita asked. Usually, the door to the roof isn't open. The headmaster sighed and replied, it was just that day, she climbed up using the fire escape. More so than just that day. Xiang Cheng went to the fire escape, looked down and said, the rungs of the fire escape are smooth. She often went up to the roof using this ladder. The headmaster nodded. Kita walked to the edge of the roof, sat down, and looked out into the distance. What can you see? JIXIAN asked. I can't see anything. Kita shaded his eyes and looked around. Xiang Cheng climbed up the shed on the roof, and there was a row of flower pots set there. He looked down and picked up a flower pot at the edge of the corner on the roof of the shed. Soil fell from the flower pot down to the roof. Kita stood up and looked down at the potted flowers with Xiang Cheng. They then both looked out at the distance with their backs to the roof. The bright moon hung in the sky and shone for tens of thousands of li. "Let's go," Xiang Cheng said. They went downstairs and went to the homeroom teacher's office to learn about how the girl behaved before she died. She was a girl who was often bullied by her classmates, and though she studied hard, she only had average talent. The other boy had died in the fast car lane just outside the university due to a car accident. It had been just after the evening self-study class, and he had crossed the fast lane downstairs to buy some midnight snacks. When he came back, he was hit by a Maserati and was killed on the spot. Kita said, "I'll go take a look across the street." Kita also crossed the outer lane to buy some barbecue, looking around from time to time, walking the path that the deceased had walked before his death. "Did you find anything?" Xiang Cheng asked. It was 9 p.m., and JIXIAN vaguely saw something, but not in front, it was behind instead. "There," JIXIAN said, "the flower bed is shining." It was just at the flower bed by the road. Xiang Cheng motioned for him to stand there and wait, and crouched down himself to squeeze through the flower bed. "What color is it shining?" Xiang Cheng asked. "Red," JIXIAN replied. Xiang Cheng looked down at the soil, knelt on the flower bed, with half his body stuck in the flower bed. "Is it this?" Xiang Cheng came out with a small stone. JIXIAN covered his right eye to take it over, but Xiang Cheng didn't hand it to him. "Yes," said JIXIAN, "what is this?" "A drop of blood," Xiang Cheng said. JIXIAN dug out a pencil box from his bag, and Xiang Cheng put the little stone stained with blood in the pencil box. JIXIAN took out his notebook and recorded an entry, "A drop of blood." "Where's Kita?" "Kita!" JIXIAN shouted. Kita stood in the middle of the overpass in the distance. He looked down with his hands behind his back, then waved at them like a friendly inspecting manager. "We're leaving now." JIXIAN didn't dare say that they had found something. Kita walked down quickly without asking any questions and drove them away. Their last destination was Boy B's house. When Xiang Cheng rang the doorbell, Zhou Wanyuan was a guest at B's house. B's mother's eyes were red and full of tears. The house was covered with dust, and Mother B basically sat there in a spiritless way every day. This was a single-parent family, and the mother was now alone in this world. Xiang Cheng greeted her and went directly into B's bedroom. Kita motioned to JIXIAN and whispered, "Xiao Di, let's mop the floor for her ba, you wipe the table." "Okay." JIXIAN and Kita hit it off immediately, so Kita took off his suit, rolled up his shirt sleeves, went to the bathroom to wash the mop, and mopped the floor. JIXIAN washed the dishcloth and helped Mother B clean up. Xiang Cheng did a circle and came out, glancing at Zhou Wanyuan. Zhou Wanyuan pulled at Mother B's hand and motioned towards the balcony with her eyes. Xiang Cheng went to the balcony to look around again. JIXIAN was wiping the floor-to-ceiling window, and Xiang Cheng knocked on the window, questioning JIXIAN with his eyes. JIXIAN doubtfully closed his right eye, tilted his head to look around, and shook his head. Xiang Cheng held the railing and looked down. They were on the 6th floor, but he didn't find any clues. In the 3 days before his death, Xiang Cheng asked, "Did he say anything?" B's mother wiped her tears and said, "He wrote a note saying, 'Mom, I'm unfilial, I'm leaving now, I don't know why, he was perfectly fine.'" "The note is at the police station," said Zhou Wanyuan. "There was nothing unusual about it?" JIXIAN finished wiping the windows, washed the rags, and went into the room to have a look. B was an otaku before his death. He had a bookcase full of manga. Most of them were ghost stories, with Junji Ito's Uzumaki included. He took out some books and flipped through them. Kita also came in, and the two of them looked around. Kita looked up at the Evangelion and Tokyo Ghoul posters on the wall and said, "I used to really like these and Koiba. I also like them." JIXIAN said, "But the merch is too expensive, and I couldn't afford it back when I was studying. I also like mechanical models and things." "Come to my house tomorrow," Kita said. "I bought a new drone, the kind with Apple as the console." "Excellent." JIXIAN liked this kind of stuff the most, so the two of them threw the case aside and began to jubilantly discuss anime episodes, before going from anime to games. Unexpectedly, Kita was also an otaku addicted to the two-dimensional world. The two of them talked for a bit and found out, with astonishment, that they liked the same things, and very much regretted that they didn't meet earlier. "Let's have a meeting, ba." Zhou Wanyuan left B's house. The four of them sat down at a small table of the roadside barbecue stand and ordered a few bottles of beer and some barbecue. "Let's compile what he have so far," Zhou Wanyuan said. "Let's sort out the papers first. Do you go on Bilibili?" JIXIAN asked Kita. "I do. Kita said, "In the past, I used to answer the registration questions one by one." Zhou Wanyuan. "Let's start with the college," Xiang Cheng said. "The cause of death is not suicide. It was a homicide." Zhou Wanyuan asked, "What evidence do you have?" "You watch Fate Ba," Kita said, "they even say I look like." Ha ha ha. JIXIAN immediately realized something and said, "You can go cosplay. I have." Kita slapped his thigh and said, "In the past, our club often went out to cosplay. They dyed my hair red and had me cosplay as Gilgamesh." "Kita." Zhou Wanyuan said. Kita quickly waved his hand and said, "Let's talk business, ba." Xiang Cheng, "I don't know what happened that night, but we can be certain that at least one Yao lured the deceased to the glass ceiling before it broke, and then she died. Similarly, the deceased D on the roof of the middle school didn't intend to commit suicide, but was sitting on the edge and thinking. Behind her, there was a flying Yaogwai that glided in from the top of the roof, sank its claws on D's back, and pushed her off the roof. She cried out and fell to death under the eyes of the entire evening self-study class." JIXIAN. "You guys keep talking," Xiang Cheng said. "Don't worry about us." "How did you discover this?" Zhou Wanyuan asked. "The flower pots." Xiang Cheng said, "In the small shed on the roof, that Yao had already been waiting for a long time. According to the traces left on the scene, it has 4 claws and 2 wings. After D died, the Yao ran over to the side of the road where the self-study session was going on and chased after C. Its claws left blood on D's shoulder. C realized that something was chasing him, and he began to panic. He crossed the road to ask for help, but as a result, he was hit by a car and died." Xiang Cheng casually drew a sketch that looked like a dog with wings, and said, "The Yaogwai probably looks like this. This is the enemy we are about to meet, but I still have one thing I haven't thought through. I still need proof." "JIXIAN, you don't need to note this down. I'm making an illustrated handbook of Yaogwai," JIXIAN said, absorbed in his task. Everyone watched JIXIAN register Xiang Cheng's monster in his notebook. JIXIAN had learned how to sketch a bit, so he could sketch the Yaogwai with some shadow and soft lighting, and once he gave it a bit of a gradient effect, everyone fell over at once. But, JIXIAN finished drawing, raised his hand, and asked, if the dog's goal was to kill him, wouldn't it have been enough to just bite him directly? And how did the Yaogwai know that C would run into the car when crossing the road? Unless it was all arranged. Xiang Cheng nodded and said, "That's the part that I can't figure out. Eat first, ba." After their midnight snack, the 4 of them got in the car. Xiang Cheng and JIXIAN sat in the back seat while Kita drove. Zhou Wanyuan kept looking out at the road, lost in thought. A moment later, she took out a mirror to touch up her makeup. Kita took a look at her makeup mirror, and Zhou Wanyuan snapped the mirror shut with a paw sound. What are you looking at? Kita didn't answer and just paid attention to driving. Chen Zhen didn't let you take any family heirlooms along? Zhou Wanyuan asked. I'm not in charge of anything, Kita replied. I'm just responsible for driving Xiang. He grinned as he said that. The SUV turned into a long and narrow back alley. There were 5 or 6 garbage cans on both sides of the alley, with a door in the middle of them. Only one vehicle could enter the lane at a time, and Kita was very good at reversing, forcing the huge off-road vehicle into the small alley. Zhou Wanyuan opened the door, which opened up against the wall. Kita. Zhou Wanyuan. You did this on purpose, ba, Zhou Wanyuan said. Kita pushed a button, the sunroof opened, and he pointed up. Xiang Cheng said, Xiaoduo, you two wait in the car. Saying that, he climbed out of the sunroof first. Zhou Wanyuan hesitated for a moment, then also climbed up. Kita, beauty, don't expose too much. You pervert, Zhou Wanyuan yelled. Xiaoduo. Kita waved at Xiaoduo, motioning him to the front passenger seat as he played a song, and they listened to the song in the car. Xiang Cheng and Zhou Wanyuan jumped down in front of the car. They came to the back door of the hospital, and Kita turned off the headlights. Xiaoduo sat in the car, his eyes dazzled, and he saw a beautiful light glowing from behind the door. However, as soon as he blinked, the light disappeared again. What is this place? Xiaoduo asked. Kita shook his head and said, I don't know. I'm only responsible for driving. Xiaoduo said, you must know. Don't ask, Kita said. It's not good to know, trust me. In Xiaoduo's dragon pupil, he saw that the light emitted from the door was like colored moving light, gently spreading towards the sky. He stretched his head forward a bit and looked up. At the same time, a shadow crouching on top of a tall building beside the alley quickly shrank back. Did you see something? Kita asked. Xiaoduo shook his head. Xiang Cheng and Zhou Wanyuan stood in front of the locked back door and tried it, but it wouldn't budge. Xiang Cheng bent down, climbed up to the second floor along the air conditioning pipe, and entered an office. He was both strong and vigorous. Zhou Wanyuan waited outside the door. A moment later, the door to the back alley was opened. Zhou Wanyuan followed in, took out a small flashlight from her bag, and moved it around to illuminate their path. At the end of the dark passageway, a fluorescent light was shining behind another door. Someone was on duty. There was a faint cry in the distance. Xiang Cheng stopped halfway and motioned Zhou Wanyuan to go up the stairs. The two of them went to the second floor. At the end of the corridor on the second floor, there was a door. At the top of the door, a fluorescent lamp lit up a big word, morgue. In the back alley, Xiaoduo felt that there was something creepy nearby, but inside the car was very normal. It seemed that with just Kita sitting in the driver's seat, nothing could invade the car. I added a camera to the drone, Kita said. Now I can take aerial photos with it. For work? Xiaoduo asked. No, just to play around in my spare time. Kita replied, I saw your resume. Was it hard back when you were working in architecture? It was okay, Xiaoduo said. I often worked overtime and didn't know what the point of it was. Now that I'm not doing that anymore, I'm free. Kita asked, are you two planning on finding a job in Beijing? Xiaoduo replied, we'll talk about it after Xiang Cheng completes the exam. Kita stretched out and said, to tell you the truth, I really want to go to Guangzhou. The food in Guangzhou is delicious. Have you ever been to Yulan Alley in Guangzhou? I heard that there is a girl named Yulan there who can use drawings to transform spiritual realms into reality. The study material has already been sent to you, have you reviewed it? No, I haven't had time yet. JIXIAN's memory was a little vague, and he said, can you guys do internal transfers? Kita replied. If you don't want to stay in Beijing, the other offices are also good. The interpersonal struggles at the headquarters are too complicated. Are there? JIXIAN didn't expect that there were even such matters in an exorcist organization. Where there are places of authority, there are power struggles. Kita replied, it's the same everywhere. Small offices like Guangzhou are better than those in Shanghai and Shenzhen. And you have a lot of free time. JIXIAN felt that Yulan Alley sounded very familiar. According to Xiang Cheng's account, he had been there before he had smelt the Lihun pollen, but he already couldn't remember what it was like inside. He asked, how did you get into this office? Family relationships. Kita said, my dad died on duty and the organization arranged a job for me. It's worse off than some, but better off than many, but it's not a great position. Sometimes I envy you idle people, it's much more interesting to visit mountains and rivers. End chapter. Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Chapter 31. Trap. In the morgue, Xiang Cheng shone a flashlight into the freezer. The autopsy report didn't check their backs closely, Zhou Wanyuan said in the dark. Only a few key parts like the neck, ankles, and wrists were checked. After excluding homicide, they were filed away. Xiang Cheng was silent. Zhou Wanyuan said, do you usually not talk except to analyze cases? Xiang Cheng said. Zhou Wanyuan, I think you talk a lot to your apprentice. Xiang Cheng checked the files in his hand, found one of the freezers, and opened it up. Xiaoduo is not my apprentice, Xiang Cheng replied. He zipped open the bag, and inside was a body with half its face missing due to jumping off the roof. The head was smashed in, and the brains mutilated. Turn it over, Xiang Cheng said. Zhou Wanyuan came over and gave him a hand. It was very cold in the morgue, and they worked together to turn the body over. Xiang Cheng's flashlight shone on the shoulder of the corpse, where there was a faint claw mark. The two of them looked at each other. Xiang Cheng zipped up the bag and pushed it back into the freezer. It confirms your guess. Zhou Wanyuan said, there are two possibilities. First, it can control people's minds, or second, it can become bigger and smaller. When luring Gurley over, it took away her pen and waited on the glass ceiling. Gurley climbed out to pick up her pen, and then she fell down. Xiang Cheng let out a careless "N." When they were about to leave the morgue, they suddenly heard a slight dong in the freezer. Xiang Cheng stopped, pointed the flashlight back over, and the light landed on the nameplate outside the freezer drawer. Things expand with heat and shrink with cold, Zhou Wanyuan said. It's the neighboring one. As soon as Xiang Cheng said that, there was another dong from D's freezer. The two of them stood in the quiet morgue, facing the drawer. Xiang Cheng stepped forward, one hand on the drawer handle. At that moment, the drawer crashed open and ejected with towering black energy. Xiang Cheng was sent flying away, and a black monster flattened him to the ground. The two humans shout at the same time, but as soon as Zhou Wanyuan took out something, the monster turned and lashed out at her. As soon as Zhou Wanyuan had her makeup mirror in her hand, it went flying as the monster hit her. Xiang Cheng crawled to his feet, pressed one hand against the middle table, flew back through the air, both feet aimed at the monster, and kicked it at the door. The door rang out with a loud noise. The monster let out a dull roar and puffed up the feathers that covered its body, its tail lashing around and hooking at things as it caught Xiang Cheng's ankle, and Xiang Cheng's entire body fell to the ground. Zhou Wanyuan was being held down by the monster. Its claws caught on her shoulders, and blood burst out. In a flash, the monster bit directly at her throat, but Xiang Cheng forcefully leapt onto it and viciously squeezed it. Xiang Cheng roared and threw the monster to the other side with his hands. The monster crashed into the drawer of the morgue, turned its head, and Xiang Cheng saw the entire thing. It was a black Yao dog with the tail of a tiger, the wings of an eagle, and the head of a dog. Zhou Wanyuan rushed to open the door, but heard footsteps, and the door was locked from the outside. As soon as Zhou Wanyuan touched the door handle, it burst into purple light and slammed her away. The doors of the morgue closed, and there were freezers everywhere. Xiang Cheng and Zhou Wanyuan didn't have any magical weapons on them, only the makeup mirror in Zhou Wanyuan's hand. Xiang Cheng had no choice but to fight the monster at close range. The Yao dog showed its bloody maw and forked tongue as it rushed towards him. Xiang Cheng pulled open a freezer, and the nearly 40 kilograms drawer was used as a shield, withstanding the force of the Yao dog rushing over and slamming against it. The Yao dog's tail whipped around, flicking out at Xiang Cheng's face like a steel whip. The moment Xiang Cheng fell, his cell phone flew out of his pocket. Xiang Cheng shot over, grabbed the cell phone in his hand, slid his thumb over it, and pressed redial. In the off-road vehicle in the alley, JIXIAN's cell phone vibrated. The caller ID read, Xiang Cheng. Hello. The roar of a monster sounded from the other end. Kita immediately started the off-road vehicle and hit it a few times, but the engine turned off. JIXIAN shouted, Xiang Cheng. Kita opened the trunk door from the inside by kicking it open. The two of them rushed out, climbed onto the roof, and ran into the passageway. In the dark corridor, the morgue was completely quiet, and Kita roared, JIXIAN. Make way. JIXIAN immediately leaned against the wall and saw a strange mark on the door, as if it had been firmly sealed by a magical array. Kita drew both his hands back and punched at the door, throwing the weight of his whole body at it. At that moment, JIXIAN saw the ghost of a wolf with silver fur burst out from Kita, roaring as it charged at the magical array. The wolf made of light collided with the door of the morgue and shattered the magical array, opening the door with a bang. Inside, the Yao dog had its tail wrapped around Zhou Wanyuan's neck, and it threw her out of the door into Kita, and then rushed out from the door. JIXIAN. Careful! Xiang Cheng roared. The Yao dog rushed up to the ceiling in an instant, then jumped down again, its claws heading towards JIXIAN's shoulder. In an instant, the world whirled around it. JIXIAN yelled in his heart, damn it, and the conditioned reflex in his hands made him catch the Yao dog's claw and judo throw it over his shoulder. Everyone! Well done! Xiang Cheng cheered. The Yao dog was thrown back into the midst of its enemies again. As soon as it sprang up, Xiang Cheng jerked the freezer drawer and smashed it thunderingly over the Yao dog's head. With a loud bang, the Yao dog slipped on its 4 feet, flew into a corner, and shakily rose again. JIXIAN was ecstatic, the Yaogui handbook could be updated. In his mind, he gave the monster the animation effect of stars spinning around his head and bleary eyes, and almost wanted to pounce onto it, hug it, and kiss it a few times. The monster stumbled a few steps and rushed down the stairs. Kita realized what was going on and took the lead in rushing down. The 4 of them returned to the car. Xiang Cheng pulled the trunk closed, rolled down the window, whistled, and Sigui flew over. Kita turned the car key fiercely several times, started the SUV, and quickly backed out of the alley. JIXIAN was hastily recording things in his notebook and asked, "That's the monster?" "Yes," Xiang Cheng said darkly, "it was a trap. There must be a traitor in the organization." Zhou Wanyuan said with a dark expression. Her shoulder was drenched in blood from the Yao dog clawing at her, and her color was pale as she said, "We were like turtles caught in a jar." "No," Xiang Cheng said, "not necessarily. Kita, drive faster. It's already at the fastest." Kita shifted gears, ran a red light and gave chase like a bat out of hell. "Zhou Wanyuan, are you okay?" Zhou Wanyuan shook her head, gasping for breath. Xiang Cheng rummaged for his duffel bag and poked his head out of the sunroof. JIXIAN also stood up in the back seat and stuck his head out of the sunroof. The strong wind blew at him, to the point that his face was about to be blown crooked. The night was dark, and the corrupted Yao dog spread its wings and faded into the sky. In Xiaoduo's eyes, it left a trail of red light behind it. He looked at Xiang Cheng and pointed to the east. I see it. Xiang Cheng hugged Xiaoduo, and they leaned against the roof of the car. East, Xiang Cheng said. Hey, said Kita, Zhou Wanyuan. Xiang Cheng came down and saw that Zhou Wanyuan was deathly pale and that the front passenger seat was covered in blood. She leaned against the seat and didn't move. Xiaoduo pressed his clothes to her shoulder, helping her stop the bleeding, and said, we can't give chase anymore. Half an hour later, in a basement. Zhou Wanyuan leaned on the sofa as Xiaoduo bandaged her. Why me? The corners of Xiaoduo's mouth twitched. It's awkward for us to do it. Kita said with his back to Xiaoduo, has the wound been treated? Xiang Cheng sat in silence at a long table. But I'm also a man, Xiaoduo said. Zhou Wanyuan, with her shoulders half exposed and her back bare, said weakly, if I'm letting you wrap it, then just wrap it, ba. What are you doing, saying so much nonsense? Kita said sincerely, your hands are very skilled. Xiaoduo tied a bow on the bandages of Zhou Wanyuan's wound, his hands covered in blood. Thank you, said Zhou Wanyuan wearily. Xiaoduo went to wash his hands, while Kita brought out some alcohol and handed some to Xiang Cheng and Zhou Wanyuan. Kita toasted, to world peace. World peace, Xiang Cheng said helplessly. Love and peace, Zhou Wanyuan said weakly. Xiaoduo, world peace. Okay. Xiaoduo sat at the long table, spread out his notebook, and said, let's sort out today's investigation findings, ba. Xiang Cheng and Zhou Wanyuan looked at Xiaoduo strangely, and Kita started laughing. What? Xiaoduo asked blankly. Zhou Wanyuan, nothing. Xiang Cheng shook his head. Xiaoduo said, I'll take notes for everyone, then winked at Kita. Kita motioned that he understood and wouldn't say anything about him signing up for the Yao Subduing Equipment Division. That monster knew in advance that we would go to the hospital, Xiang Cheng said. So? Kita asked, sitting on the dining chair, absorbed in thought. Does anyone want to harm us? Xiaoduo noted down everything that had happened to them tonight and drew out pictures like a PowerPoint to detail it all. He remembered Zhou Wanyuan saying that there must be a traitor in the organization in the car, and he decided not to write that down for the time being. Yes. Xiang Cheng replied, we were caught like turtles in a jar. Fortunately, we escaped. We didn't bring any magical weapons with us when we entered the morgue. Xiaoduo updated the morgue key entry and asked, is it possible that someone has been monitoring our movements? Kita shook his head and said, I haven't discovered anyone. It wasn't possible that with 3 exorcists here, none of them would notice a tracker. The only possibility was the other party had already figured out that they would go to the hospital morgue and had long ago already arranged a trap there and waited for them. It's already very clear. Xiang Cheng glanced up at Zhou Wanyuan and said, it's one or more Yao dogs. I guess that they are all the same type. Zhou Wanyuan said, it's really scary that the enemy can guess that we wouldn't carry any magical weapons with us when we went to the morgue. Don't you have a mirror? Xiang Cheng asked. That's a Yao-revealing mirror, Zhou Wanyuan said. It doesn't have any attack power. Kita cracked his knuckles and didn't say anything. Xiang Cheng sorted out the notes and said, they're not guessing. It's that the enemy's leader can predict the future and knows the series of events that will happen next. Since he can predict the future, why not make more complete preparations and directly attack? Xiang Cheng was silent for a long time and said, maybe he can only predict the future to a certain extent. Xiaoduo said, so if we talk here, it can predict that as well. It's possible, Xiang Cheng said. Everything could be under its control. Xiaoduo. Kita laughed, shook his head, and said, "That's impossible." "Do you believe that?" JIXIAN said, "I believe him." Kita said, "It's unscientific. God doesn't play dice, and the future is unpredictable." Our university professor said this. "But Yaogwai and devils themselves are unscientific," JIXIAN said. "It seems strange to want Yao and devils to abide by the rules of physics and quantum mechanics while also running around capturing them." "All right, then I'll accept this statement for the time being." Kita's eyebrows twitched, and he said, "Go on, Xiang, what else did you discover?" Xiang Cheng looked at Kita, and the corners of Kita's mouth twitched slightly, his eyes making it seem like he had something to say. After just a moment, the two of them looked away from each other. "I've been busy with this for 3 months, Zhou Wanyuan said. "But I haven't figured out the motive, and also haven't caught the Yaogwai. It's too frustrating." Zhou Wanyuan took a sip of alcohol, but Xiang Cheng said, "We've already gotten close." JIXIAN used a drink to ice the red mark on Xiang Cheng's face. Xiang Cheng sat quietly and looked at them. "I'll talk now," Xiang Cheng said. "Go ahead, Zhou Wanyuan said. "Talk," Kita replied. "A devil who knows the future," Xiang Cheng said, "took the lives of 4 students and used an unknown ceremony to do something that we don't know." Kita added, "Correction, it may be one devil or more than one." Xiang Cheng said, "There's only one. The Yao dog is just a flunky that it's using. Devils controlling Yao is very common in my experience." JIXIAN updated the entry Yao dog. "The Yao dog has no brain," Zhou Wanyuan said, lying on the armrest of the sofa. "There must be a more powerful guy behind, directing it. They discovered that we were getting close to the truth after we got involved in the investigation, so they wanted to kill us all to silence us and stop the organization from investigating again." "That devil," Xiang Cheng said, "what did it form from?" "We know nothing about it, and I was completely powerless against it when I fought with it for the first time." "Were you magically restrained?" Zhou Wanyuan sat up straight, lifted her head and asked Xiang Cheng. Xiang Cheng shook his head and said, "It dodged every move of mine." "Why did you find it?" Kita asked. "The Sword of Wisdom." Xiang Cheng replied, "It's an heirloom magical artifact. The Qi family told me that there are 2 devils in Beijing, and one of them has my Sword of Wisdom." JIXIAN was ecstatic, noted down Sword of Wisdom, and looked at Xiang Cheng expectantly. "What devil?" Kita asked. "Did they say what kind?" Xiang Cheng shook his head. "Where did this information come from?" JIXIAN asked. "The youngest son of the Qi family overheard a Yao mention it." Xiang Cheng replied, "That old man only went to places with many people, so I didn't dare to use magic. When the old man came to the drum tower, he disappeared. I entered the drum tower, the drum sounded, and another old man appeared. He launched a magical array at me and sent me into that infinite loop corridor." JIXIAN recorded down, "Infinite loop corridor." Xiang Cheng. "Take a break," Xiang Cheng said. "Stop writing, what's there to write about the infinite loop corridor? Can you not be so serious?" Zhou Wanyuan, who couldn't watch any longer, said. "I'm most annoyed by reading and taking notes." JIXIAN said seriously, "Don't be like that, Ma. In this age, is being diligent not okay? Chen Zhen sent someone to check that place." Kita said, "It's a pavilion illusion transformation array left by a lama from the Qing dynasty. It was set up 160 years ago to communicate with the capital under the little Potala's human skin drum. It may have been used to avoid the 8 power allied forces, and has no direct relationship to devils." "It's also a trap," Xiang Cheng replied. "It accidentally found the transformation array, so it led me over there. In other words, it's playing with you, isn't it?" Zhou Wanyuan said. "Yes." Xiang Cheng nodded. He leaned back in his chair and took a sip of alcohol. Xiaoduo, Kita asked, what did the old man you met with Director Chen that night look like? Xiaoduo's hand was about to cramp from writing, there was really too much key information. Xiaoduo flipped to the previous pages, described what happened in detail, and said, he didn't turn his head, so I didn't see his face. He has no face, Xiang Cheng said. He used a Hundun's power, and I saw that his face had no features. So it's a Hundun? Zhou Wanyuan asked. He has a dead Hundun in his body. Xiang Cheng's 5 fingers made a capturing motion as he explained, this is a special kind of devil. There are at least 2 people, 2 devils. One releases all the spirits absorbed in his body and lets them absorb the aura of the heavenly veins, and the other sucks all the spirits back in at midnight. Twin devils, Kita said immediately, I see. Xiang Chen nodded. Xiaoduo was wide-eyed and couldn't make a sound. He had already forgotten to update the entry and asked, so the Yaogwai tonight was also one that it released? Yes. Xiang Chen nodded. And it can also predict the future, Zhou Wanyuan said. Xiaoduo wrote it all down in his notebook and looked at them. We have to apply for fresh troops to assist, Kita said. The 3 of us are no match for 2 devils. The key is, Xiang Cheng said, what is it? This is the most important question. Once we know the other party's classification, everything will be easily solved, and we can go back to the case itself. Motive, purpose, and means, Zhou Wanyuan said, trying hard to wake herself up. With your analysis, I can probably grasp a bit of the essence of what is going on. Don't be deceived by your eyes, Xiang Cheng said. Under all these layers, the truth of the matter is that there can only be one reason for this. To build up one's power, Kita said. The ultimate goal of killing people is to increase your power. This process is beyond all doubt. The power it wants to increase, Xiang Cheng said, is the power to predict the future. That's possible, Zhou Wanyuan said, but why it chose these 4 students has always been a mystery to me. Coincidence, Xiang Cheng replied, that's the only possibility. They met either Mr. Mao or Mr. Dai, put forward some kind of trade and reached a deal with the devil. We've already gotten close to the truth, so tomorrow I'll go to Yandaxi Street and stay in the inn where they stayed for one night to search for clues. It's late night now, let's go back to sleep first ba. Stay at my house ba, Kita said. You can choose any room upstairs. Kita's house was very big. It was a 3-story single-family house. The living room was completely dark with the lights off, and there was no one there. Xiaoduo was very curious, because this was the first time he was staying in such a luxurious place. Each room was equipped with a separate bathroom. The Kita's family was very rich. Xiaoduo took an ice pack and iced Xiang Cheng's red and swollen face to reduce the swelling. He was extremely distressed on his behalf. Fortunately, you called me. Xiaoduo said, if the 2 of us hadn't made it there in time, I don't know what would have happened. Those were the fighting skills you learned in the judo hall. Xiang Cheng asked. Xiaoduo let out a hee-hee and said, strong ba. Xiang Cheng replied, it was great. When we were in the morgue, I heard footsteps, and that was it coming over to lock the door and then seal it. Xiaoduo shuddered at the thought that they had passed a devil not long ago and asked, what faction is Kita from? I saw that he could directly break through the magical array. That wasn't a magical array, Xiang Cheng replied, that was a devil seal. I also don't know, you can ask him yourself next time. Xiaoduo thought for a moment and said, that purple magical seal was so powerful, it could lock both of you inside. Xiang Cheng. You saw it? Xiang Cheng's brow furrowed. Xiaoduo nodded. Xiang Cheng immediately sat up and asked, what shape was it? Round. Xiaoduo replied, Kita also saw it? He can't see it. Xiang Cheng said, This is great, do you still remember it? Draw it out. Qi Xiao Duo tried his best to recall it. His memory was actually very good, and as long as he didn't smell any Lihun pollen, he could vaguely remember things that had happened back as far back as when he was 7. Xiang Cheng found a pen and paper, pulled open a drawer and asked JIXIAN to sit by the table, and describe the magical array. JIXIAN couldn't fully remember it, so many places were off, and he said, I can't remember all of it clearly. If you can't remember it clearly, just scribble it, Xiang Cheng said. It doesn't matter, it's fine as long as we have the general shape. JIXIAN racked his brain, and the insides looked like an earthworm. He scribbled for a while and asked, what's this for? It's this devil's magic, Xiang Cheng said, if we can figure it out, we can know what kind of devil it is. JIXIAN asked, but according to what you said before, it can predict the future. Can it predict that we are here to try investigating the root of it? Or if it predicts that we will guess what it is through the magical array, it would give the wrong magical array in advance, right? That's reasonable. Xiang Cheng paced a bit in the room. JIXIAN said, I'm not afraid of trouble, but I'm afraid that if it can guess everything, will we fall into the next trap? Xiang Cheng said, draw it out first ba, and we'll figure it out after we look at it. JIXIAN concentrated on drawing for a while, and when it was past midnight, he yawned. Okay. JIXIAN handed him the paper, and on it was a circular array of rays. Xiang Cheng said, you go to sleep first. JIXIAN climbed into bed while Xiang Cheng went out and knocked on the door. Kita was sleeping right in the opposite bedroom, and Xiang Cheng asked Kita for reference books. Kita yawned and said, there are too many, you can't finish them all. There are PDFs, so you can read it on your iPad ba. So JIXIAN slept while Xiang Cheng laid in bed and used the iPad to search picture after picture, based on JIXIAN's drawing. JIXIAN slept until he was in a daze. He felt that after a long time, Xiang Cheng also lay down, so he took the initiative to twist around. Xiang Cheng hugged him, the air conditioner was fully turned on, and JIXIAN snuggled into the quilt to sleep. End chapter.